Travel baseball is the devil. Get out while you can. What's up, guys? My name is John Madden. I'm a former professional pitcher. I was drafted by the San Diego Padres, Rule 5 to the New York Mets. I was an All-American in college at Auburn University, War Eagle. And a few months ago, I was on a podcast, the Valley podcast. If you don't know about Valley, I sell a bunch of their gloves on my website. Really great company. They got a bunch of cool stuff. But anyway, I was on their podcast. They flew me up to New York to be on the podcast. And we talked, and in part of the podcast, we talked about travel baseball. And I talked about how I thought it was watered down this day and age. And the clip blew up. It's their number one video, their number one clip from the podcast ever. And I just wanted to elaborate on that clip. Now, before we get into that video, and I'm going to post the video here so you can watch it, but before we get into it, I just want to give you some context of kind of where I'm coming from with that and why I'm making this video and why I said what I said. And it's not because I want to trash travel baseball. That's not the case. It's just why I'm not putting my son in travel baseball at this moment. He's 9 years old. He hasn't played travel baseball yet. He played Little League last year. We're going to play Little League again this coming season. And again, I'm not trying to trash it. This video is not good for my business. I sell baseball training equipment and to a lot of travel ball parents and coaches and organizations. So obviously me talking bad, again, I'm not talking bad about travel baseball, but me giving my opinions on travel baseball, why I think it's negative for us, at least. It's probably not beneficial to business, but I'm doing this in order to maybe help someone or give someone perspective who's kind of on the fence about it. Like, oh, we need to play travel baseball versus should we play Little League? Should we do something else? So it's just giving my perspective. And if I can help anyone in a similar situation make a decision, that's what I'm here for. So let me play you the clip where we're talking about travel baseball. And then we can elaborate on that a little more. I'm going to read you a few comments that we got on that video. And then there's another great video I want to share with you. So let's get into this one first.
I had down next was I wanted to talk about travel ball with you. Okay. Because we were talking about, your high school and just the different mindset. But and as far as coaching, whether you had coaching or didn't coaching. And I understand that you didn't really play travel ball, right? Until your junior or senior year or something like that?
Yep. Junior year in high school was my first season playing travel ball. And that's another thing. So we didn't have a lot of money growing up. We weren't poor, but we weren't, we didn't have money like that. I say like lower middle class. And so we didn't have money for lessons and travel ball and all that stuff or new gear and stuff like that. So like my dad kind of made it like he wouldn't make fun of the kids, but like we kind of like, oh, look at that guy got a new bat. He thinks he could hit. So it was like almost like you didn't want to be one of those guys. Like you're better than those travel ball kids, and you could do it what you're doing here. You're better than them playing over here. So that was the kind of attitude I grew up with travel ball. And I didn't play ever until my junior year of high school. And then I played for a team that was like full of studs. Like there ended up like 6 or 7 guys getting drafted up.
Really?
Zach Greinke was on that team.
Really?
Yeah. Like absolute studs. Like these were the best of the best guys out of all of Florida. So it wasn't like like there's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of watered down travel ball teams now. Everybody's playing travel ball from 8 years old till up. It's a totally different thing. Like back then, I don't even know if there was an 8-year-old travel ball team. I don't know. I don't remember the first time that I was offered to play travel ball, but it wasn't like it is now. And if it was, there were the guys were, it was a better team. I thought back then, at least when I was playing. Yeah, we're talking about in the 90s. When I was
right. Well, what made you play with that one team? Like, how did you, like, did your dad, like, help make that decision? I mean, you didn't play for that long, and then all of a sudden to make the decision to play with that team, was it just because they were so good and you were trying to get recruited for college, or, like, what made you make the decision?
I think they saw me pitching somewhere, or they heard about me or something, because I was doing well and big. Big and throwing hard.
Yeah, sure.
I was a draftable body for sure back then. And I think that they pitched it to my mom and dad, like, he needs this to go, if he wants to play college or pro ball, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I think they bid on it and we did it. And it was good. I actually did terrible that season.
Really?
Yeah, I did terrible. I started gaining weight. That was another thing my dad told me. Was that you got to start eating, you got to start gaining more weight, you got to start lifting and stuff. So I got into the gym, I got really big, and I was eating everything. I went from 180 pounds to 240 pounds in high school. Yeah. Well, but that doesn't translate to the pitchers now, you know? So, but that just happened to be during that
time.
And then I realized I got to 240 and I'm like out of breath, throwing like 80 miles an hour. I'm like, all right, this is not working. But in the long term, it did work because my body developed so much. I was like a grown man. I have a picture hanging in my room in my office that is of our high school baseball team. And I'm there with my friends, but they look like little children. And I was just like this big, like my body was so more developed than theirs.
Yeah.
Because of that. Because
Right.
I spent the whole 6 months going crazy in the gym, eating. I was like, I had 240 pounds, like, you know, like
As a high school
kid, 6'4". Yeah. Like, so, and once I got my mobility back and chilled out in the weight room a little bit, then it translated well to the mound. So that was a huge benefit.
What's your opinion of travel ball as a whole, I guess, what like now, because obviously it's changed.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it.
No,
I think, especially at the younger ages, I've got a lot of friends whose kids play travel ball, and I love them and respect them, and I've talked to them, and for me, it's not what I want my son to be doing. The weekend, spending all the weekends traveling, and I know some of the younger teams, they don't travel far, but for us, I want those weekends off. Unfortunately, Little League is not that much better these days. Our Little League, we have late games, man. We're playing 8:00 at night for 8-year-olds. And, they're getting done 9:30. He's not going to bed till 10 something. Like, I'm like, what are we doing here on school nights,
Wow.
So I don't like that either. I wanted to start a team this season and try to figure out something in between. That was my goal, was to make a team of players and parents that I knew were committed and were good and wanted to grow together, but also not spend weekends playing tournaments, just schedule games here or there, maybe a double header, and then practice, develop.
Right.
That would be my ideal goal, but it's a lot of work. It's hard to do, and to schedule those teams and get the umpires and
get the right players and parents for the team that buy into that mindset.
Yeah, because I got to sell the whole concept.
Right. It's a whole different
Nobody
concept.
knows I don't even know what it's called. It doesn't exist. It's not it's not rec ball, it's not travel. It's in the middle.
It's in the middle.
Where you need
back to the vanless middle of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Right?
But how do you explain that and sell people on that?
Yeah.
That's the tough part. But
yeah,
so my son's playing Little League right now, doing good, loving it, and we're happy. Besides being out so late, on some of these nights.
Yeah. So I mean, in an ideal world, you would say though, more practice at the young age, necessarily than the games. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think the tournament play, playing 4 or 5 games a weekend is tough, man. And I used to train guys. I used to give lessons, and the young guys that started travel ball 8 years old, by 14, a lot of them were burned out.
Yeah.
They quit. They just didn't want to deal with it, or didn't want to, deal with their parents about. A lot of it was that, like, they're like, man, my dad's riding me. Like, it just wants me to do that. Like, I don't want to, it's just like, worn down, from a young age. And I don't want that for my son. He's a multi-sport, he plays football. I played tackle football, flag football, is playing basketball. We like to go to the park and play basketball. Hopefully we get to play basketball tomorrow. And I was the same way growing up. I played basketball and football when I was younger, but I think that's good for them.
So that was just a short clip from the podcast, giving you a little bit of my perspective on travel ball. If you're not subscribed to the Valley Podcast, make sure you do. I'll leave a link down below. Really great stuff on there. But I just want to elaborate a little bit more. And when I was thinking about making this video, I wanted to really break it down and understand. And for myself, I really never thought about this, but why? Why do I want my son to play baseball in general? Or why would someone want their son to play travel baseball? I think there might be a couple reasons, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. At least for me, sometimes I feel like we get our kids into things and we want them to do well. Obviously, they're our kids. We want them to be great at everything. But I think when we see them struggle a little bit and we know that they have the potential to do it, we push them a little bit to do it. And I think a lot of travel baseball is that. I don't think that's always the case, but I think a lot of travel baseball is that. We see the potential in our children, and we said, oh, he's one of the top guys on this little league team. He should be playing travel baseball, and we try to push him to do that. We try to get him to that next level. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm just thinking out loud right now. And I think sometimes it can get carried away. You know, we start getting these young kids. And right now I'm speaking, when I'm thinking about it, I'm speaking about young kids. Because my son, he just turned 9 years old. So that's what I have in my head right now when I'm speaking. I think travel ball at the older ages is important. As you heard in the clip, I played my junior season of high school. I played travel baseball. And that was important for me to get seen by the scouts. As you heard, I didn't have a great showing at that travel ball team, so it didn't really even help me. But I ended up going to play college baseball, get a college scholarship, parlay that into an Auburn scholarship, and then get drafted and play professionally for 6 years. So in my situation, travel ball didn't even help me because I did terrible when I played travel baseball. Nobody was looking at me through travel baseball. I got eyes on me a different way. So is it even necessary at that level? Maybe. Now it's a little bit different. That was back in the 90s for me. Now travel ball is a lot bigger. But stepping back to the younger kids, do we really need travel baseball for these 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds? Now, I get it. There was the funny guy, I forget his handle, M something, I think. But he's always making funny videos out at the travel ball fields and stuff. I saw him on a podcast, and he made a great point too. Like, people bash travel ball a lot, but they're not separating the like a 12U majors team or 13, 14-year-old, or even obviously higher than that, the sophomore and junior teams who are like studs, the studs. And that's what I was trying to get, the point that I was trying to get across in the podcast on Valley was it's watered down right now. But those teams aren't those teams are few and far between. Yeah, there's a handful of them, and that's what travel baseball used to be, those teams. But now anyone who's decent wants to get away and make their own travel ball team. And that I'm not on board with. And the reason why I'm not on board, me personally, is because, like, what's the reason? What are we trying to do? Like, am I willing to trade my weekends, 4 or 5 games, Saturday and Sunday, when my son has school all week? He's going to have practice during the week for baseball and then be gone for the entire weekend. He doesn't have any time to be a kid. My son loves to fish. He loves to, be outside and shoot his BB guns, shoot real guns. He loves to do a lot of outdoor stuff. Am I going to take that away from him? He's got friends on the block that he likes to play with. He likes to play football. He's in football season right now. He likes to play basketball. He likes to do other things. Now, I was a professional baseball player. My dad was a high school football player. He played in high school only. And I played football at the younger levels. And I remember feeling like I had to play football because my dad played football. And I didn't really enjoy it. And he never pushed me to play football. Like, he was just like, yeah, he was very laid back about it. But I still felt the pressure to play football because he was a football player. So imagine that for my son being a professional baseball player and him playing baseball. Now, with that being said, he loves it. He loves playing baseball. He loves playing football, basketball, fishing, shooting, hunting, all that stuff. He loves it. But I don't want him to feel ever like he has to play because I played. And also, I use him in the business. I shoot videos with him, so like there's got to be a lot of pressure. And I try to be very in tune with that. So, but even if you're not a professional baseball player dad and you got a kid who you could still give him that pressure. Like I said, my dad was just a high school football player. And he definitely didn't like pressure me to play. I just still felt it because you want to be like your dad. When you're a kid, you want to be like your dad, like your dad is like the coolest thing, ever. You think he's the strongest, the best, like you argue with kids over your dad's better than their, that's how it is. Right. So I try to stay very in tune with that. And I don't want to take away his childhood. Like, I feel like he's got a lot of other things that he would want to do. Now, if he's playing Little League, he's got a lot less games. The weekends are more open, probably a little more less practice. With that being said, I do like the developmental part of youth baseball. And if they're into it, by the way, if your kid is like a super diehard baseball dude, like that's all he like loves to do. Like right now, my kid's hooked on fishing. Like he wants to come home, boom, and he's out. He grabs his pole, he's gone. He wants to fish, you know. But he goes through phases. But if your kid is a diehard like baseball guy like that, then by all means, like if he wants to spend the weekend out there, all weekend, training all week, taking lessons, doing all that stuff, hey, by all means, like feed the beast. But if he's just into it a little bit, like my son, he loves it, but he's not like geeked out over baseball. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to push him to do that, because like I said in the Valley video, I used to train kids when I was done playing professionally before I had my son. And so many of the kids I got at 8 or 9 years old, and they were great players. By the time they got to 13, 14, 15 years old, a lot of them quit. And they could have played in college. Like they had the potential to play in college, but they quit because they were just so burned out, because they're doing baseball all year round and doing the lessons and practicing and doing travel ball. And they were just done. They're like, no, I don't want it. Like, no, they quit. They got into arguments with their parents, and man, it's not good. It's not, in my opinion. You gotta let the kids be kids for a little bit. And like I was saying before, I don't ever think I finished my thought, but the development part of it is awesome. And that leads me to another point. The other video I want to show you is Brent Porcio, Top Velocity. He was on the AJ Payne. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, Paen podcast. I was on that podcast as well. But there was one clip from there where he talks about how America has got it wrong when it comes to travel baseball versus the other countries. So I want to play that clip right now so you can watch that and get that perspective as well. And then we'll talk some more.
They're just playing year-round travel ball from a much younger age, and they're also increasing their throwing velocity at a much younger age.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's the difference in the American culture to the international cultures. I think 48% of Major League Baseball players are international players. And I think eventually it's going to be 58%, 68%. You're eventually going to see the American player as a minority in an American sport. And I don't know if it's sad. I mean, the game's great right now. It's just, if you're an American, you got to understand that you're in a system that's deteriorating. It's not the better system. The international systems are obviously better. And that's why you're seeing more and more international players taking over the major league level. So what that means is the culture here we've created, this travel ball culture, doesn't work. It's a complete disaster for talent. It destroys talent as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so the first thing that makes me think of is Will Ferrell when he's talking about baseball, and he's like, there's nothing more American than going to the ballpark and watching 9 Dominicans make magic on the field. Right? Man, we're going the wrong way. That's and if that's your goal, and I think, going back to my earlier point, I think the why of why we're having these kids play travel baseball, I think a lot of parents, and I do it myself too, I'm not like pointing fingers here, I'm just speaking. I think a lot of parents think he's got a shot. He could play pro baseball. And that's great. That's great to think about your kid in that way. Like being optimistic, like I'm all about that. I'm 100% all about that. But if we're pushing them to do things that they don't want to do, and that's our job as a parents, we got to push them to, like, if we just let them be lazy all the time, but there's an extent, you know what I'm saying? I feel, at least, maybe I'm parenting wrong. I don't know, but I feel like there's an extent of like how hard you should push the kid. And if we're trying to push him because we think he's got a chance at pro baseball, my argument is he can still make it without being pushed so hard so early. There's a lot that happens after puberty. And that's another point I want to make. I think travel baseball could be beneficial to some guys. Like I said, I played my junior year of high school, but I don't think, at least, I may make a video down the road and go, hey, you know what? Hey, my son's 10 now and we're playing travel baseball. And you can forget everything I said. I don't think so. What I think is we won't get involved until after puberty, because so much changes after puberty, right? Guys, I remember there was a kid when I was playing baseball, he was 12 years old, the best freaking kid you ever seen in your life playing baseball. And then everybody else hit puberty, and this guy didn't grow at all. That was it. He was at his peak at 12 years old. And he You know, he might have played a year or two after that, and that was it. Everyone passed him by, you know? So there's a lot that changes during puberty. And, you know, I think once they get to that puberty level, you know, then we can start working, getting them a little bit stronger, getting them a little bit more in shape, getting them a little more explosive, more powerful. So then they can handle some of these loads that we're putting on them. That's another thing you got to think about at this younger level is, man, we're putting a lot of loads on the kids early. You're seeing a lot more injuries, especially pitchers at the younger ages as they get older, you know? So something to think about. One of my trainers, a great trainer, Andre Williams, Core Speed. He's at Baseball Paradise in Florida. Check him out if you're ever in Orlando. But he explained it to me one time, like, think of it as a pencil eraser. And I never forgot this when he told me this. Think of it as a pencil eraser, and every pitch you're just going, right? And you always heard the pro baseball coaches saying, hey, you only got so many bullets. You know, don't waste your bullets. That was like a thing in pro baseball. And it makes you think, like, yeah, like, that's the wear and tear, right? That's the wear and tear. Now, I don't think it's exactly like that, but it makes sense, right? You don't, if we're getting these 8-year-olds to start pitching and we're letting them pitch, you know, 70, 80 pitches per outing, you know, starting at 8 years old all the way till they're 18, that's a lot of bullets. You know, that's a lot of eraser marks that's going to eventually go through that skin, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying with that analogy? So what is the answer? I don't know. Like I said in the Valley podcast, I would love to start a team that is kind of in the middle of Little League and travel baseball and focus more on development and less games and have fun with it, man. Now, like I don't believe in participation trophies, and I don't believe in making it easy so everybody could do it. No, I think it should be challenging. And I think it should be tough, but I also think that, at least for me, travel ball is not the way to do it. Will I start a development team this season? I don't think so. I'm not mentally there yet. We're in football season. After last football season, I was burnt out from football. This season's been a lot more, I don't want to say relaxing, but not as stressful. So that's good. And that's another thing. I'm not free of guilt here. I do the same things. Like in football, the first year my son played tackle football, I was tough on him. And it took me to get through that season and for him to end the season and be like, when he ended the season last year, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. He needed a break. I was tough on him. I was really tough on him. But now he's one of the older guys on the team, and he's doing well, and he's having fun. Now he's out there. And before this season, we asked him, do you want to play football again? And he had that break and had a little refresh, and he said, yeah, I want to play. So we didn't force him to play this year. But like I said, he's doing well this year, and now he's feeling more refreshed. And now I'll tell him, like, he'll be like, what are we working on today? I'll be like, defense. And he's like, yeah, let's go. He's hyped. He's ready to go for it, you know? And it took me, you know, kind of stepping back and looking at last season and saying, man, I was too hard on him, and kind of taking a different approach this season where I facilitated more development and where I'm just trying to help him and not get too crazy about anything and make it fun. And our coaching staff has been able to do that. We got a lot of great coaches. And we're undefeated in the conference right now. We're probably going to win the championship. We won the championship last year. We're probably going to do it again this year. So, but like I said, I'm guilty of this too, you know, in certain situations like the football situation. And I'm not saying that you are guilty who's watching this. I'm just, like I said, I wanted to make this video to give you perspective if you're kind of on the fence, or maybe you don't have the knowledge or experience in baseball like I do, to just give you some different perspective to make a better decision. And like I said, the decision doesn't have to be to not play travel baseball. Is the question I think you should ask yourself, is travel baseball right for me and my player at this time? That should probably be the question that you should ask yourself. I don't know if I covered everything I wanted to. It's a lot, and I think I was rambling a lot. I'm sorry for that. But if you have any more questions, leave them down below in the comments. I wanted to read some comments from the Valley podcast. Maybe I'll do another video because this is 15 minutes long or 20 minutes long already. But leave me some comments down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, YouGoProBaseball, please do. If you're looking for any baseball training equipment, I sell a bunch of stuff at YouGoProBaseball.com that helps players get better quickly. Go check it out. We got them foldable pitching mounds. Those are a popular one. We got the Personal Pitcher Pros. It's a little mini wiffle ball pitching machine that shoots out mini wiffle balls. Great for hand-eye coordination, to work on being a better hitter. A lot of professional teams, catchers use them with the mini web gloves. I got a little glove you put on your thumb and your point. Go check it out. Tons of stuff. Help you get better. I hope this helped you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any questions, let me know. Talk to you soon.